Hello everyone, Emily here. Thank you so much for all the love on my last book review video. Today I'm back with another one. This book is called Dear Justice by Nick Stone. And I believe that's short for Nicole because when they were reading their author's note, people referred to them as Nicole. So I think it's like a pen name. I could be wrong. Anyways, this book is the second in a series. I read the first one called Dear Martin back sometime in 2020, I believe, maybe 2021. What you'll notice with me is I read a lot of series, but sometimes I'll read the first one and then it'll be a while before I get to read the second one and so on, because I only use library apps. I use Libby, Hoopla, and Overdrive, only because I tend to listen to maybe like three-ish books a month, sometimes 4, and Audible like isn't free, so I just can't justify buying that many books that I'm only going to read once. I'm not like the type of person to read a book more than once. Anyway, so this is the second one in a series, and the main character's name is Quan, and he is a young man who I believe had all the odds stacked against him. The book it's another young adult fiction book. That's the genre that I like to read most of the time. It's another young adult fiction book, and he is taking us through his life where he lives in a home with his mother and his siblings, and his stepfather, or his mother's significant other, is not very nice and is very hurtful, and just not very, just that hurtful word that you can't say on YouTube, and so much so that it makes the younger siblings hide in the closet, and he and Quan has to kind of step in and help them, and stick up for them and stuff and protect them. And his mother can be seen with like bruises and stuff, so that's a whole story. And then he's in school, but he doesn't finish because he gets in trouble, and he joins for stealing and stuff, and he's sent to juvenile detention, and he joins an organization, and it starts out that the organization has rules of like no bad things, but it doesn't stay that way for long, because he meets like the leader of the organization, or the president or whatever, and the president is actually on house arrest, and so Quan has to start doing things for him, like bookkeeping and all that sorts of stuff, and it leads him to get into trouble. And like I said, he's been in and out of juvenile detention, but what leads him to really get into trouble and be incarcerated for a while is a police officer involved shooting, unfortunately. So that was rough. I was like, oh, that hit kind of heavy, but he does really well in there, because he does obtain his high school diploma. He is that young that he is still in high school, and he has a lot of PTSD from the incident, because he deals with like flashbacks and stuff. And it turns out that his father is also incarcerated. And he didn't really have a relationship with his father for a little while, because when his father would write to him and mail him the letters, the stepfather would take them and hide them, so it makes it look like the father never really cared, but he actually does, and he finds that out towards the end of the book. And so that's really nice. But then also a tough part is that his Kwan's sister is diagnosed with cancer, and him and his mom don't really speak anymore, just because of everything going on. And actually another crazy thing that happened was the stepfather ended up passing away based on reasons due to the organization, if you catch my drift, that Kwan was in. So this book, even though it's fiction, it's like, there's a lot of like twists and turns. But basically, to wrap it up, Kwan writes to his friend named Justice, who we actually learn about in the first book, called Dear Martin. And Justice actually goes to Yale University, and he helps Kwan's counselor, and he gets him a new lawyer who's like, better than a public defender and cares more than a public defender, and he's able to get the charges dropped, because Kwan served like 720 days in jail or something like that. But there was like some videotape that showed that Kwan was involved, but wasn't as involved as the officers thought, so he got some of the lesser charges. And then obviously he had served his time, because they were trying to give him a hefty sentence, like a life sentence, but his friend was able to get him out, and he still writes letters to his mother and stuff, and the father, and it's just really crazy, because Kwan talked a lot about how, like, his counselor at school and his teacher, like, when he was upset, like, when one of his favorite teachers left, and then his counselor left, and then things started going downhill for him and stuff. So it's really impactful to see how much adults have impacts on young people. I know that I'm a young person. I'm gonna be 25 in April, but I still have adults that I really look up to and really mentor me and stuff. So it just shows how much of an impact they have on people. So overall, I would give this book a 5 out of 5. The only thing I wish I'd done is I wish I had reread the first book, because it talks a lot about the characters, and I had to kind of like refresh my memory based on the Goodreads summary. But this was a really good second book of 2022. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.